Hey guys, it's Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And it's time for another live stream where we talk about all things genealogy. So, oh wow, we've already got some folks chiming in today. Hey Nicole, it's good to see you here. And we have Flo from Oregon. Hey Dave, good to see you again. It's rainy and we have a gorgeous day here. This is in North Carolina. It's the just clear blue skies, temperatures low 70s. This is why we live in North Carolina. It's just beautiful weather this time of year. Hey, Erin Lee from Idaho. Yay. And we have Mary Jane from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Wonderful. Now, I'm super excited again this week, guys. I am streaming live to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. I've gotten really fancy these days, guys, but I wanted to make sure that I'm reaching as many of you that are interested in genealogy and want to learn new things as possible. So welcome, welcome. Hey, Kelly's watching from Facebook over there. She's from Lancaster. Hey, Judy, good to see you. It's so fun to see all these familiar names, guys. And if this is your first time watching or seeing me here on the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel, Facebook page, wherever you're watching, I want to welcome you and let you know this is a fairly casual type of chat. So if you have questions as we go along, feel free to pop them in the comment section. I do watch those. If for some reason I miss your question, just type it again. Sometimes I get so many comments scrolling at one time, I miss them because I'm a one person show over here, guys. So just pop it back in. It'll pop back up to the top. So be happy to do that. So let's see. Hey, we've got Bambi and we've got Lydia from Michigan and Teresa from California. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you guys are joining me today. We are going to, hey, Faye, it's good to have you back. We are going to be talking about a subject that I really enjoy when it comes to genealogy research, and it's really about how to find unusual records or how to find those records that are going to be a little bit out of the box. And you guys, if you've been with me for any amount of time, you know that I love to kind of think out of the box when it comes to research because I am head down in the records, use those traditional records a lot, but eventually you hit those brick walls. And I know that you do. I know that I do. I still have brick walls of my own that I'm working through. And it's really interesting. I like to get out from the traditional records because at some point you have to if you're going to break through those brick walls. And so I wanted to show you some ideas that I had today. These are a little, so it's a little bit different than maybe what I normally do, but I want to show you some of the ways that I figure out what other types of records might be out there, and then show you how I do some active searching for records as well using Archive Grid. And it was really interesting, guys, because as I was doing this and kind of testing out some search terms and prepping for this, for talking with you guys today, I actually came across a record. I was like, oh, I need to see that one. I didn't realize that was out there. So I actually found some records that will hopefully pertain to my research, but definitely records that I need to pursue for one of my brick wall family mystery kind of things. And I'll share a little bit more about that with you. So it was really kind of fun to be able to do that and find those little nuggets as I'm working through to show you guys some things. So yes, Mary Jane, I am talking. Is everybody hearing okay? I just want to make sure if somebody just doesn't mind giving me a thumbs up or yes, we hear you in the comment section, that would be great. Because Mary Jane seems to be having some trouble. So that would be, if you guys don't mind doing that, that would help me out. Okay, so people are hearing Mary Jane. I'm not really sure what's going on. If you're having trouble, you may want to back out and come back in, and that will sometimes kind of reset whatever is causing the problem. So just wanted to let you guys know. Thanks, guys, for letting me know. Yeah, so actually, let me just tell Mary Jane to try it back out and come again. So if I can, let's see, Mary Jane. Let's see. Click out and click back in. Back in and see if that helps. So, okay. So hopefully that will help her there. Also, yes, check your mute settings on your computer, Mary Jane. Let's see, check mute settings. I'll put that in there too. And then we're going to get going. Check mute settings. Yep. So sometimes I definitely have, I was actually working through sound problem with my daughter last night. And it was finally, we just kind of said, I said, just let's end this video call. Let's come back on fresh. And it took care of everything. So hopefully, Mary Jane, that'll help you out. All right. So let's start talking about some of those tools that I use. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to first take you over to Ancestry.com. And this is something I do when I'm just kind of stuck in trying to find what else I need to, what else? What can I have for inspiration when it comes to my, okay, hang on one second, guys. I need to make sure I get, there we go. Okay. So I'm over here on Ancestry.com, and this is my homepage for searching. And sometimes it's hard to know and to find those unusual records when you don't know what you're looking for. And so sometimes when I need inspiration, I will go peruse the card catalog. So I go over here and I just hit the search button and I go into card catalog, and it brings me right over here. Now you guys have seen this, and I've actually got a post over on the website about using the card catalog. So if you haven't used it before, I would encourage you to do that. One of the things I love is they're starting to put some of these records. So they have a lot of new records that, they do put up periodically, or they update. So be sure and check those. Now, one of the things, I just kind of look at the top here and I'm thinking, oh, wow, there's some actually kind of cool records just here. I'm looking for inspiration. Hopefully I'll find something that pertains to my ancestors, but I'm really looking right at this point for inspiration of the types of records that might be out there that I hadn't even thought about. So for instance, we have that very first one as from Iowa, it's records of persons subject to military duty. That's an unusual terminology, so that might be helpful. But look at this second one down. It's U.S. mining accidents. Anybody have miners in their ancestry? Well, this goes all the way back to 1839. This would be a record set you might want to check into. We have German records, so these are obviously around the world here that we're looking at. But I am primarily I'm going to narrow this down to U.S. records. Because, guys, I am a U.S. researcher. As you guys know, I'm based in North Carolina. And if you are watching from another country, if you are doing non-U.S. research, you can still do all of this. The techniques are the same. I'm just using examples of U.S. research that I do and or some of my state research that I do. So you can certainly narrow it down to a specific in this case, country, which would be the U.S. So we have some interesting things there. Again, the mining accidents show up. We have Lutheran church records, Church of the Transfiguration records, which is interesting because I think I need to look at that set. Again, I found something that I didn't know was on here. So that's a good way to look at. So we have church records, and Ancestry has more of those than I actually realized. Fraternal historic cemetery records in Arkansas. So again, just kind of getting some of those really unusual types of records, maybe kind of being inspired by what could be out there that I had not thought about previously. I like to pop into over here when I narrow things down a bit. I like to go into directories and member lists because you guys know directories are incredibly helpful when it comes to your genealogy research. I teach on it, I write on it. I absolutely love all types of directories because really, what are they? They are lists, and I am a list maker. I love lists, and this just gives me some ideas to look at. I thought this was this one right here, the New York State Employment Cards and Peddlers Licenses for 1840 to 1966. This was actually, I flagged this one in my shoebox because I was like, I need to peruse this. I have, or my husband's side of the family has ancestors who fall into this category. Never thought to see if they had to have a license to be a peddler. Very excited to find that one. Okay, I've used this one before, but I absolutely love it, guys. It's the U.S. baseball questionnaires. Do you have any ancestors who are baseball players? I found one. I found a minor league baseball player from 1920s, 30s. Actually, I think he may have gone into the early 1940s. And there are records out there. It never occurred to me to research the sports for ancestors. So if that pertains to you, Absolutely, look for it. Employment cards. Here we have some in Brooklyn, New York shipyard employment cards. So this would actually, well, I don't have Brooklyn ancestors that I'm looking for. What it does tell me is to think about, okay, what I'm seeing are occupational type of licenses that are required. Therefore, I'm going to take another look at my ancestors' occupations and see, did any of them require perhaps a license? And can I perhaps pursue that line of research? So again, I'm getting inspiration to see what other types of records would somebody maybe have created in their life, and then I can pursue them at my ancestors, for my ancestors in that sense. So that was what I wanted to show you here with the ancestry records. You can do this on any of the big databases, guys. Just kind of go into the card catalog. You're not necessarily looking for specific people, and start perusing to see what types of records could be out there. And you can go through, I can narrow it down more, or I can go wider with this. I can do it, all kinds of things with that, obviously. So I wanted to show you that. Now, I am actually going to stop sharing for just a minute. I want to come back to you guys, and I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you are familiar with Archive Grid? Have you used Archive Grid in your genealogy research? The reason I ask that is it is a very valuable tool. Actually, here I have a website, a post I did on it. Archive Grid is a finding aid, and it's for like special collections and those kinds of things. And it is fabulous to be able to find things you probably wouldn't have thought of or dreamed to look in certain places for types of resources. So the important thing here is that when I stood before a group of about 75 people. I was speaking last January, and I asked them and said, has anybody who is familiar with Archive Grid? And only one person raised her hand, and she was the librarian who actually booked me to talk. And so I knew right then that we had to take some time during that talk to hop on the internet and to show people the power of what Archive Grid did. And I'm always learning and fine-tuning how to search that thing. So let's say June uses it. Yay, June. And Teresa, it's new to you. I'm going to hop over and show you, Teresa. So I think you're going to really enjoy seeing what it can do. Kelly has seen the posts I've done on it, but you've never used it. Kelly, it's time to start putting that in action. And Martha has, but you haven't found much. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but you never quite know. And if you don't look, you'll never know. So here we go. I am going to hop over now to share my screen again. And let's see, let me get there real quick. Oh. Okay, so here we are. We are at Archive Grid. This is their homepage. And if this is new to you, this is basically a finding aid. Okay, and it looks archival materials across the world. I will say predominantly most of them are going to be in the US, but it does go across the world. They have over, I think, 1,000 different archival repositories that are actually in their list that they search, 5 million records that they search. And so it's a really great way to be able to search records of repositories, one, that you did not know existed, and two, do it from home and when you can't travel to certain ones that they have. Now, the easiest thing to do really is to put in your search terms up here at the top. You can search by location, but the reason I like to come up here to the search terms here is because I don't always know. I don't want to limit myself to one repository unless I'm actually going to that repository, but I want to look across the US, the world, for these records. And so one of the first things that I do, you can search by people or you can search by location. So the first example I'm going to show you is actually searching by location. Now, I do a lot of research in Halifax County, Virginia. I have a lot of ancestors up there. And so I wanted to see what types of records they have that I could find out there that would be maybe I haven't seen before, and where they might be, because they can be anywhere. I mean, they could be anywhere across the US. Now, this was really pretty nice. When you I search by location. It's a smaller county, so it's nice. I only have 700 results. So That's actually keeps it narrowed down, but I can narrow it down even further. But first up, there's some photographs from Halifax County, from this Cluster Springs area. Well, guess what, guys? I have ancestors from Cluster Springs. I didn't know this even existed, and so that is one of the things that I will be researching later on to see if perhaps I see any of my ancestors in these photographs. But as I go down, I'm looking, so there are some family papers. This first one is at the University of Virginia, very consistent. It's the state of Virginia. But the Bruce papers, which pertain to Halifax and that area of Virginia, are actually in the Library of Congress. I wouldn't think to necessarily check the Library of Congress for this. We have will books from the Library of Virginia. Most of these are going to be probably fairly close in this. This is a very rural area, so most of these tend to be in the Virginia area. The sheriff's account books. I thought this was a very interesting thing I have not looked at that I do want to peruse on my own. It says it has information recorded that includes landowner names, acreage, amounts of tax owed. These are basically, it's the land sales for non-payment of taxes. And so I think that would be an interesting one to go through and look at. I might find one or two of my own folks in there. So again, you start to see there are lots of papers. I hadn't really thought to look at sheriff's account books, but there it is. There's another one for me to look at. We have letters. Here's an ordinary bond. I thought this was a really kind of an interesting thing. I was like, oh, a bond for an ordinary. And when I look at the names, I'm thinking, oh yes, I need to look at this because that John Owen very well may be one of my ancestors in that. So that was sort of where I started because I wanted to kind of get an idea. And again, this is 700 pages or 700 entries. Now, if I want to narrow things down, I typically will go to the summary view. So this is the list view. And if you hit summary view, then you get 6 different groups and I can look at different things. So I can look at different topics that pertain. So maybe I'm interested in the plantations of Halifax County. I can look there and I would be able to find, they have 17 entries for that. Maybe I'm more interested in looking at the agricultural records because my ancestors were rural farmers. So maybe then I go and click on that 20 entries and I can scroll through that to see who in the area perhaps might find some relevance to my ancestors there. And again, you can see they're kind of all over the US. All right, so let's go back to the homepage. I'm going to show you another search that you can do with these. You can search individual ancestors. So I did one earlier today. This is my ancestor, Matthew Talbot. And I popped him in here, and there are 864 entries for him. And this is a fairly interesting thing. Now, I will tell you this family is fairly well documented out, but I wanted to see what else perhaps could I find that might pertain to this Talbot family. Now, part of it is I get a lot of hits that say Talbot County. That's okay. Well, we don't really know how we tie in. We're pretty sure we tie in. We just aren't quite sure yet how we do that. But I'm really looking more at people. And for some reason, this one is showing up. This is the Oregon Historical Society with the Dede family. And for some reason, the Talbot's getting a hit. I would look at that. The Grayson Talbot family photographs and wills. We have the University of Virginia. That is a biggie for me. I'd like to look at that. We have Talbot family papers down in Georgia. That's another part of the family. That would be another one to look at. So you see that they are all kind of around the country there and quite a variety there. We have Catherine Talbot. That one's at Yale University. So these are all really helpful things for me to look at. Again, if I go to the summary view, I know that maybe I only want to look for things that are Matthew Talbot, and I'm really particularly interested in the Virginia Talbots because they were in a number of places. Well, then I can actually go and I can scroll down to these in the location here, the archives locations, and I would be able to scroll down to Virginia and click on that. So I would be interested in what Richmond has. And again, I'm down to 11, and absolutely these are actually my guy down in Virginia. Okay, so let me show you something else. Another way to do a search. Last one, I promise, guys. But I happen to have, let's see, I did a search on the name Talbot, which is my maiden name, and Kentucky, because there is this thing we know for whatever reason that my Virginia Talbots had some kind of connection to the Talbots in Kentucky. We know that my great grandfather went back and forth. And the problem is we don't know why. We couldn't find anybody. We don't know why he did that. And so I put in Talbot in Kentucky. I thought, let me see what Kentucky has. And I started kind of going through. So again, we have mostly a lot of Virginia there at the top. We have the land office, again, kind of some of those middle. But here's actually a scrapbook, which would be interesting to see, even though that's an earlier one. But then I went into the summary view. I clicked on Talbot family because that's what I wanted. Actually, I'm going to click on Kentucky here. I got 19 results, and this tells me about land warrants, the Hobbs family Bible. All of a sudden, we're starting to get the Talbot name kicking up. These tend to be in the University of Kentucky, Kentucky Historical Society, Tennessee. Again, this would be something of interest because of the location. They would have been close. That would be a place for me to look at. Talbot family papers, University of Kentucky. You better believe, guys, I want to look at this. And the reason is, a couple of weeks ago, I discovered one of the reasons that my Talbots from Virginia go to Kentucky. I discovered an extra son, I guess, or I discovered my third great grandfather's brother, previously unknown to us, left the area as a young man, left Virginia as a young man, and went to Kentucky. And I finally found him. Finally found him and his wife and his family. And so now I'm working to explore that whole connection. It really opened up that whole opportunity for me to research. So that's how I use the Archive Grid. Now, if you're new to Archive Grid, let me just show you something really quickly, just to give you kind of an idea of how you might want to use this. You can, just so you know, Talbot is an actual one of the variations for our name. Archive Grid is just a finding aid. So sometimes down here in related sources, you might find a link for a digital collection if the collection has been digitized. If not, I'm really just going to go up here and I'm going to hit contact information. And in this case, it's taken me all the way, it looks like, to the University of Kentucky's library. And I'm going to be able to get into their archives there and look. Usually at this point, if it's not digitized, I'm usually going to get the information and I'm just going to email or call the repository and tell them what I'm interested in and ask them for help in viewing. So I did want to share that with you guys. I am a huge fan of Archive Grid. If you haven't used it, I think it's such an important tool for you guys to explore and to be able to use. It's a way to find those unusual records. Once you've finished the census records, the wills, the estates, the birth, marriage, death records, the land records, and you need to get out into some more of those different records that may be, particularly the papers and diaries and all of that kind of stuff. Look to Archive Grid. You will save yourself so much trouble. And it will also, because it's searching repositories too that you might not normally think to look for. It's quick and you can do that. So I would encourage you guys to give that a try. So Kelly, you said you've seen the post. It's time for you to try that out a little bit. And Martha's right. Sometimes you don't find things. Sometimes I don't find as much on surnames. And if I will go into doing location searches, sometimes what I get there is a little bit more along the lines of social history. I'm doing it to see if I can, one, find family, but also what can I learn about the area that might pertain to my research, that I can start to maybe pull up another way of researching, another research plan out of it. So that's what I'm working on. All right, guys. So Kelly said she's going to explore it this weekend. I know. Now, speaking of this weekend, guys, let's see. Today is November 5th. Okay. So this weekend, I am going to be part of the Family History Fanatics e-conference. It's about avoiding or dealing with common genealogy, troubles like researching a county where the records no longer exist, things like that. So they have let me actually I'll pop the link in there for you. So it is a conference, and the registration is still open for that. It closes on, let's see, probably Friday, probably tomorrow, if not today. But I will pop that in. I'll pop that link in there for you. That is the Family History Fanatics. Andy and Devin do a fantastic job when it comes to their e-conferences, and we will be talking about all kinds of ways to overcome common genealogy problems out there. I'm actually speaking on researching burned counties. So check out that page. Again, registration is still open, and you can register even though if you can't show up, you have a certain number of days to watch it. Even if you can't watch it live, you do have some options to watch it live. Watch the email on Monday for details about the webinar I'm doing with VividPix, with Rick from VividPix. We're going to be talking about using the VividPix software and making documents more legible and easier to read and transcribe, as well as some really important things such as metadata, adding metadata to our photos when we scan them and clean them up, and how that helps with being able to keep them organized and storing them. I will tell you guys, here's the secret. I haven't done a very good job of that when it comes to metadata. So I'm super excited that he's going to be with us. That is going to be on November 10th. And I just want to double check and make sure I say that day. Yes, November 10th. That's Tuesday at 8 p.m. So watch Monday's email and watch the Facebook page. And I'll have all the links and everything there for you. You do not need to register for this one, guys. So I just wanted to let you know about that. So that's what's coming up. If you are interested, I have one other link I want to give you, and it is the link to the sign up for the email list that I do. It is the Frugal Genealogy newsletter. Let me grab that link for you. What this is it's basically for an email that I send out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there. When I send it out at the end of the week, and it's with all of the sales that I'm seeing genealogy related. And I can tell you they are starting. I'm seeing DNA sales. So if you are waiting to buy some DNA kits, it's coming up, because I'm starting to see those pop up today. I know Ancestry has a sale on. I'll be sending out information on that for you a little bit later today. But I only send it to this list that I'm, this link, if you sign up. The reason I do that is I don't want to clutter up my main email with all of those sales and stuff that I see, because there are quite a few of them, and I know not everybody's into that. So if you are interested in finding the bargains, just through December, this email list only runs through the end of December, and then I stop after the holidays. This is not a year-long thing. It's just to kind of help you in your shopping, and if you're looking for a bargain, because I'm a frugal shopper, and I want to make sure I'm using my genealogy dollars wisely. So I see lots of good sales that come through my inbox there. So that's there. You can sign up for that with that. So anything else? Does anybody have any questions? Let me just pop over here. Catherine says, you think you need to be watching live to win a door prize? Yes. She's referring to the conference on Saturday, the e-conference that the Family History Fanatics are doing. If you are, if you register and you are there for live, then you have the opportunity to win a door prize or door prizes. So, but if you have to watch it on the replay, you're not eligible for. So thanks for actually bringing that up, Catherine. I'd kind of forgotten about that. So thank you for letting me know that with that. So I'm super excited about it. I've been thrilled about it. So anyway, all right, guys, that's what I have for you today. There's lots of stuff going on in the world and in general and in the genealogy world and all of that good stuff. But if you just watch your emails, that's where I put I always put the really important upcoming stuff there, as well as the Facebook page. For those of you who are watching this on replay, especially on YouTube, because I know not all the comments I'll come over, I will have the links listed in the description below. So if anytime I refer to a link, just look in the description below, and that's where it will be. So just wanted to let you know that. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you next week. Oh, next week, super excited. Be sure and mark your calendar next week, 3 p.m. here. We are having Mary Eberly, our DNA expert, come over, and she's going to be talking about DNA again with us, some more topics on DNA. So I'm really excited to have her back. She's going to be joining me once a month to share on the various topics surrounding DNA. So if you have questions, write them down and bring them for next week, and she will be with me. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.